Have you, though, reached out far enough to those who are perhaps least aware, least motivated to get involved and to vote?
What astounds me is how little interest there is in voting in local government elections, and yet it is so fundamentally important to people's day-to-day lives.
A quarter of our population now are what we broadly call Asian, Chinese and Indian being the largest two groups of those, and I've gone out of my way to be involved with that group because they're great people to talk to. They're quite transactional. You know, they're really only interested in whether they really want a businessman in charge. They're not too fussed about policies. They're quite simple. I like them.
The social media has been fantastic over the last 3 years because the feedback I'm getting is people saying, I've never bothered voting before, I'm going to this time.
If you look at the voting data, it matches the very data of this university that I used to work for. If you own a house, you tend to vote, and if you don't own a house, you tend not to vote. No different for this university. If you're from a low decile school, you won't come to this university because I worked here for 15 years, and if you come from a wealthy school, you're going to come to this university.
Can you name your 3 top climate actions?
I've talked about fares free. We're getting people out of their cars onto walking and cycling. So fares free is going to address that. Yep. So I've also called for a mayor's coalition on how we're going to advocate to the Crown to make sure we get money back from the GST we pay on rates to go towards climate action and urban ngahere. And I know that's already in Te Tawhiria Taruke, but we've got to ensure that we're planting. We've got more canopy cover because we know that in poorer areas of the city, there's canopy cover is only 8%, and we want to get it right up to 30% so it's general across the city.
3 top climate actions that could make a difference?
No.
None?
Nope. You know my stance on climate, and everybody who's watching on, and a few there here won't, so let me explain to it.
Sure.
I disagree with the numbers that have been presented for the plan by Auckland Council. I do not think that those numbers are what we should be concerned about.
Well, I think the first thing I'd do is shift all of the containers from the wharf on trains rather than trucks. That gets rid of the trucks out of the city. And 150 containers on a train only uses the same diesel as 27 trucks, so you get win-win-win there. Get a very clear assessment of exactly which parts of the city will be worst damaged by increased floods and adverse weather events, and concentrate the money there, part of the money there. I think the council made a brave decision to put aside a large sum for this, and we should maximise the benefit that we can get from it.
Okay.
For me, it's about electrifying the fleet and getting those buses. I know it's in there, but I'm not sure it's fully funded. It's 177 million, as I understand it, to actually get that fleet electrified by 2030, and making sure we've got infrastructure to support the migration of vehicles to low and no emission vehicles. So that's a big one for me. I think it's, this mitigation is important as well. I have been out to Howick and seen some of the challenges there. I think we do need to be focusing on areas at most risk.
Closing statements now. 3 years' time. You've been mayor for 3 years. You're reflecting on what has been achieved if you've done it.
We'll be a proud city, a city that will look at what we've done and made sure that our children have opportunities for the future. We'll have people looking in from overseas into our city, whether it's Singapore, Busan, Taiwan, Samoa, thinking, I want to go there because, like what the Auckland plan says, it is our Māori identity that sets us apart. A city that is diverse, a city that welcomes inclusion, a city where fare-free public transport means we're connected it again. We're getting to our universities. We're getting through to meeting up with friends and family. That's the kind of city I want, where we're connected, and we're going to have a city that's going to grow. 2.4 million people in the next 18 to 20 years. That's a city that needs to be connected, a city that is respecting of one another, and a city that's going to be led by a mayor that you can be proud of, that you will look at and think, that is Auckland on the world stage, that is Auckland on the domestic stage, and it's time that we all lift our eyes and dream again for a brand new city that's going to take us forward.
Okay, in 3 years' time, the City Rail Link will be finished. The eastern and western busways will be finished. The city will be cleared of construction work and you'll be able to move around it better. The buses will be sped up with IT. The finances will be under control and we'll be starting to put away money for new projects which we choose. Light rail will be parked, the Three Waters won't have happened, the containers will be delivered on trains, the cars will be gone, and they'll be starting a new build on leasehold land where the cars are now, bringing parks and new restaurants and businesses down to the city. And the city will be safe right across from Wellsford to Pukekohe, and we'll have a government which is actually listening to Auckland and a bit scared of the mayor. Thanks very much.
Yes, I would like to be saying well done to those inside council who have helped turn Auckland Council into a service provider. Well done to that team who have ended up working for the people and provided them with the services that they're actually wanting, where their rates is going to be spent and how they get around the city and how services are provided to them. And this is right down to parks and spaces, sport and recreation, the ability to have a park-like centre in the CBD, changing it to a civic district instead of a business district, pedestrianise the lower section of Queen Street, and let's have people going there in a family-centric environment. Let's have people after 3 years saying, hey, my streets are clean, my gutters have been cleaned out, my drains have been unblocked, the culverts are cleared, we've trimmed the trees from the power lines. All those basic core services that everyone moans to me about day after day, I want in 3 years them to be saying, thank you for having a council that is actually doing those jobs, the jobs they're paid to do, and the main role of council is core services, not social services, serving the people with core services. We'll put a Fesso in to do social services in government. That's his job. He'll be brilliant at it.
I believe to unlock the potential of our region and come out of COVID well, we have to address the top issues facing us. So within 3 years, I do want to have made a tangible impact on the issues that I've talked, on the solutions that I've talked about tonight. Most importantly for me, I actually want to see a change in the culture, how we're engaging with our communities, how we're caring about their needs, how to make sure we're not inflicting things on them that they're angry about. I want to have a more united place, that people actually feel when decisions are made, they actually trust them and respect them, even if they don't always like them. That is what I'm seeing is missing at the moment, and that is the difference that I want to be able to bring.
Short and sharp, I think Efeso and Craig held each other, they held themselves well. Viv and Wayne could have done a bit better. Definitely not their best foot forward. I think we'll answer it later on, but what I've been looking at specifically is how they cater to the youth and for students, and only two of them mentioned that, so yeah.
We're at a university and no one talked about students.
Exactly.
Each in their own way created emotional connections with the audience, some of them negative, some of them positive. That's really important to make those connections if voters are then going to hear the messages that you're trying to sell.
I would have expected a stronger female candidate. Being the only female, you've got so much to push for. That's probably just one for Craig. For someone who has, in a lot of my friend circles and a lot of the students that I communicate with, a lot of controversial thoughts. The one comment that he said, if that's what the people want, that's what we'll do. You know, that's what I guess a true man will do.
I still find the climate position by Craig Lord a little bit hard to fathom, but you know, maybe that's just me. But I do think that, you know, people really care about climate change, and the student activists in the city have been out in their thousands many times over the last 3 years since the last election. My other big surprise is, where was housing in this debate? I think you could ask any Aucklander from any walk of life that housing and intergenerational housing poverty is a really critical issue for this city.
I mean, anyone can come and look at financial reports and sit up here and throw numbers at us, right? But it's what they actually do when they get in that role. Can they actually deliver? I truly don't know, and it's not just them, it's the team behind them.
How inclusive was their message? How visionary were they? How aspirational were they for our city? Did they want us to be a global city? Were they passionate about their message, and were they fiscally responsible? Did they care about co-governance and that it means partnership and management under Te Tiriti? And did they care about marginalised voters and how to get the youth vote out? And so on that basis, my vote goes to Efeso Collins.
Learning to listen to the people, to what they need. It starts from the students and it ends up in I guess, the population. So I'm going to have to say Efeso.
I guess the person with the fewest black marks next to his name tonight was Efeso Collins, perhaps because he didn't put his foot in it very badly.